So hello everyone, for today's video tutorial we'll be discussing the idea of STP or Spanning Tree Protocol. This is where multiple switches that would be considered in a loop, since they are connected, would make a wire be not a priority and make one wire be one priority and one wire be the backup. So for the first switch 4, we will be configuring in-range port F01 to 2, and we will be truncate them to VLAN 2 and VLAN 3 using switch port mode trunk and switch port trunk allowed VLAN 2 to 3. But first, before we do that, we have to create the VLANs first in each switch. And with this, we will be doing this for all the VLANs. So after we have truncated the switch, we will be seeing that one of the wires will be on have the indicator orange, and if we're going to take out one wire, that orange indicator will now be green, meaning that's where the packet will now be sent. But if we're going to put it back, the orange wire will be back, since the priority of the packet will now be on switch 4 to switch 5, sorry. So at this part of the video, we'll now be making specific ports access only specific VLANs. For port 03, it will only be accessing using the command switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 3. And for port 04, will only be accessing port VLAN 3. So after that, we will now be discussing the idea of Etherchannels, where multiple wires are used to connect two switches, and their bandwidth will be added into one, and will be used as one, it's like one wire, and the speeds will be doubled. So first, at this point, we will be doing the first switch and group them F05 to 6 and switch. And you have to always remember this to truncate the ports. So as you can see, we're going to put the two ports into one as channel mode on, and we're now be focusing on the second switch, which is the switch 8, to also do the same thing. So now let's move on to the other switch. We will also going to configure the ports ports F01 to 2, and we're going to truncate them according to the VLANs that we have already created, VLAN 2 and 3. And after that, we're going to group it as one channel. For switch number 8, it will be the first channel. So channel group 1 mode on. Then after that, we're going to see that both of the lines indicates that it's green for both sides of the switches. Next, we're going to explore the concept of LACP. So now we're going to group the ports again, port 7 to 8, and we're also going to truncate them. So for this part, it's just that you're going to do the same exact process, going to truncate all the ports that will be communicating between the switches on VLAN 2 and 3, since that is on the network that we're creating right now. So as you can see on the screen, I'm indicating that we have already created the channel group 1. So now we're going to create the second one on the channel group 2 mode, active. Active is one of the modes for LACP. And on the other part, we're going to do the exact same process. As you can see, we are grouping, we have created the VLAN 2 and 3 since it's a new switch. Then we're going to group the ports 1 and 2, and we're going to trunk them and have them trunk on 2 and 3, VLAN 2 and 3 rather. So now that since this is the first group channel for this switch 6 it will be on group channel 1 mode. Then as you can see on the screen, the first one that we have used on the other switch was active. Now the second one that we'll be using as the mode will be passive. But you can use both, it can be both active on both sides or both passive, or it can be active and passive. Okay, now we're going to move on to switch 8 to switch 6. We're going to do the PAGP. This is the other type of Ethernet. And okay, again, we group the ports into 1 in range 3 to 5. And we're trunking them into VLAN 2 and 3. Then since this will be the second group for switch 8, since we've already created the port channel 1, as you can see on the screen, that is the modes for PAGP. Auto and desirable. The first one that we choose was desirable for switch 8. Oh, switch 6 rather. Then now we're going to move on switch 8, grouping the F0/3 to 5. Then switch trunk allowed VLAN 2 to 3, and it will going to be auto as the mode, and it's the same for PAGP. It can be both auto or it can be both desirable. So now as you can see on the screen, as I struggle to click the switch, you can see the two orange indicators that I'm encircling. And if we're going to remove the wires from switch 8 to 6, the orange indicators will now turn to green, meaning it has indicated that the line between the we removed has been broken, and it will now use the secondary priority. And if we're going to pull it back, we're going to see that the orange indicators is back again. So now in this part of the video, we're just going to do the same thing that we did on the first two switches that we have configured. It's that we're going to put the ports on specific VLANs and make them access specific VLANs rather. So as port 6 and port 6 will be on VLAN 2 and port 7 will be on VLAN 3. And it's the same for the rest of the switches. Okay, now let's move on to the now let's move on to the configuring of the Ether VLAN routing or routing on a stick. This is when we encapsulate three different VLANs into one wire. So now we're going to truncate the first switch that is connected to the router, which is the F05. Now we're going to move on to the router. Always don't forget to trunk everything, and don't forget the ports that you have configured or that the wire is connected to. So now we're going to move on to interface G0/0/0, and for this we're now going to encapsulate. So in G0/0/0 dot 2 indicating the VLAN number, then encapsulate dot 1Q2 indicating the VLAN number again, and we're going to add the IP address. For the IP address that we're going to use for the router, it will always be the default address of the VLAN that you are going to use. So if you're going to see the IP addresses that we have on the left, VLAN 2 will be using the second address, the 10.44.1.0. And up next will be the subnet mask and exit. And we're going to do the same for the other VLAN. So that 3, then encapsulate that .1Q3. Then we're going to use the default address of the VLAN, the second VLAN. Which is 10.44.1.1. And don't forget to turn on the line or the port rather. So you have to go on to the main interface of the port, and as you're going to use the command no shut, and we're going to fast forward it, and we're going to see that it will be connected. So we're going to test the connection, the communication between the two VLANs. So as you can see, the PC has already been configured with the default address and the IP address of the PC. We're going to see that the VLAN 04 is on VLAN 3 and VLAN 2 is on port F03. And the PC1 is also configured. As you can see, the first packet that was sent to the PC from PC0 to PC1 has failed. You're just going to retry it again and it will be successful. And when you're configuring a PC, don't forget to put the default gateway. That is the most important one for the two VLANs to communicate. Going from the other switch from PC2 to PC1, which is from VLAN 2 to VLAN 3. As you can see, it's successful. So that's all. Thank you.